Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Hope everyone is doing well. Um, Please join us. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Hope everyone is doing well. Can you please confirm that you can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, Bismillah. Okay, we give it a few moments, please. Please share it to other groups. We want viewers. We want people to benefit from this video. Let me kick out this unwanted guest from here. So good. Alhamdulillah. Okay, you know how it is with live videos. The moment you start or you decide to start them, everything crumbles, the computer happens something with it, the camera, everything. So, thank you. No, it's gone. We don't want it because it's going to distract us. So, how are you, everyone? Please, I need you to share this. This is the first time I alone go live. I used to do meetings and we used to talk here, we discuss, but this time is specifically to you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to share with you. I hope information, my experience in regard to PhD, and of course, all the questions that you are going to ask. We are going to make this night a revision night instead of you are going to revise alone or maybe with your friends. Let's revise together and try to discuss and see how can we help you. Of course, you are helping me in the same time. Of course, even I'm learning from you. So, Alhamdulillah, 3 minutes to start officially. So I said want to start a few minutes early. Please, I don't see people sharing. Please share, do try to share it. دايما نسمع الناس يقولوا بارتاج جامي تخيلت راح نقولها I'm doing the same thing. But for the sake of knowledge, I hope. I'm doing good, Alhamdulillah. I'm so happy with the community, the messages that I receive all the time. It's really helping me a lot, pushing me to further enhance this channel. And as you know, this channel, yes, I started it in 2020 with the pandemic. It was my portal with my students, but then I expanded this to meet all students. And now I'm thinking that it has to be national. You see that okay, you did raise my voice, so I'm going to get the microphone closer. Okay, I said that when I started this channel, I just was aiming for my students at the very beginning with the pandemic. Then decided to help all students, and now even I'm thinking this is my goal now, that we really need to uh, be closer to our students. Most of the time, we teachers feel, or you students feel that teachers are so far from the students, but no, not really. We really understand the struggle, everything that you are going through, and we try to help you. This is what I'm doing here. Everything I try is how I think and trying to really change your view concerning teachers and even the university, the Algerian university in general. Okay, okay, I'm raising my voice. I think the microphone is working well. This is as much as this is the best I can do concerning the sound quality. Okay, let's start. I see people not sharing. Please share the maximum so people can really benefit from everything that I'm going to say. So let's say first who I am. I am Boukhechba, currently a doctor at Jalfa University. I teach methodology. I also in charge of reading lectures when it comes to first year, and sometimes sociolinguistics. I'm majored in, my thesis was on sociolinguistics, but my master studies were about linguistics and, of course, didactic. This really helped me a lot to be able to talk about either linguistics or didactics or even sociolinguistics. So this is why I can talk about all of these. Of course, many times some students they tell me why you are not talking about literature, civilization. They are really not my major. I'm not qualified to talk about them. I know if I do, people are going to kill me for that. So I really avoid that as much as possible. So this is why it happens. So neurolinguistic as a PhD, I haven't heard about it. I really didn't really hear about neurolinguistics in Algeria. Okay, it's cut enough. Would you please save the life? Yeah, I would save the life. Of course, I would do it. I will try to save the life, and also I will upload it to my YouTube channel because I do believe that YouTube is always kind of more professional in this regard. Okay, so Bismillah. Now you can ask questions. We can open discussion. So the first one we have Pretty Roni is asking, we have a problem with writing. How can we write in an academic way? Let me try to give you something so simple that is going to help you. Most of the time, academic writing relies on what are called concepts. I'm give you, for example, sometimes you want to talk about, let's say, for example, you say, I have in my class students, so many students, so many students. So if this so many students, you can just simply change it to overcrowded classroom. This is one. Sometimes you want to talk about, for example, let's say, let me give you a concept. So say, for example, the use of the mother tongue and with the target language, the use of these two languages. The concept that can be used here is what we call translanguage in classroom. So in a translanguage in classroom, the both languages can be used. So the more you are equipped with such concepts is going to help you in answering this. Okay, so can you please tell me if strategy is the same method in research methodology? Okay, okay, strategies is the same method. I didn't get the question. Try to clarify more. I'm going, what should be memorized and what should be understood during revision? Look, for those who are preparing for the PhD, and especially at this time, and we are so late because I do think that you have only less than a month, what you are going to do, you need to write essays, develop essays as quickly as possible, and memorize those essays. But what the good thing is that the moment you are writing these essays, especially if you are using your own language, you will find the task is so easy. So that's why you find it so easy to memorize. So this is the best way you can do. Write, develop, and at the same time memorize. And don't waste your time reading a lot because I do know a lot of people telling me that I read a lot. Now, trust me, you will spend your entire life reading and you won't even pick the pen and write. Just directly pick the pen and start writing. And we will talk about writing an introduction now. So we have Sarah. Hello, sir. Hope you're doing well. I'm good. How to formulate the thesis statement when there are 5 body paragraphs to develop? Okay, let's try to talk about this thesis statement. Give me a few moments. Let's talk about it. Look, an introduction is what? An introduction is the whole answer. You have to remember that the introduction, like whole of it, contains the answer. So if I'm asked, for example, let's say, and one of the questions I'm getting lately to telling me talks about ethics and research methodology, or ethicality in research methodology. The answer should be there at the level of the methodology. So the thesis statement, if it's one sentence, because this is the problem. Most people, they think it's one sentence. Sometimes it can be expanded to 2 sentences. It should contain all the elements that you are going to develop. If you are going to mention like 5 elements within the thesis statement, these elements are going to be developed later. I'm going to give you an example. Most people, when they are asked about ethics, when it comes to when it comes to research methodology, they focus on plagiarism. It is true, but it's kind of a limited answer. When it comes to ethics, every step in research methodology is subject to ethicality. I'm going to give you an example. If I'm going to answer this question and say, talk about ethicality when it comes to research methodology. I'm going to say that a researcher has to mind ethical consideration within in every step in the research, starting from, this is the thesis statement, from formulating the problem, designing research questions, data collection, and data analysis, and at the end, report writing. You will ask me how. First one, if we talk about research problem, formulating a research problem, you know that's one of the important characteristics of scientific research. That a problem you look for a solution to a problem that is ethical. It's unethical to look for a problem that you want to create something. Let's say it's going to harm people. Let's say I'm going to create a poison, and you know that's going to harm people. So that's the research problem itself is unethical. So this is one. Research questions also should be ethical in the sense that if you are going to ask these questions are not going to harm people. You know, sometimes we say that نقولوا احنا نقولوا واحد يطرح عليك سؤال بصح خبيث شوية. It's the same thing concerning a research methodology. The questions can be wicked, and these questions are unethical. So this is due. When it comes to data collection, of course, data collection is also subject to ethical consideration. For example, if we're talking about participants, so we are talking about you should be granted consent in order to do an interviews. If you are going to record, of course, in the same time you need permissions. So this is ethicality here. If we move to data collect for data analysis, of course, data collection also, for example, if there is a kind of data is going to harm people or something like this, you need to really protect the data. Then we go to data analysis. You know that in data analysis, you can change the way data is analyzed and is going to make it so it's going to be in favor to your results. And this is also a problem and it should be an ethical consideration. The last thing for in report writing, the report writing here comes the idea of plagiarism. You see that it's the last paragraph. If I'm going to develop an essay, my essay is going to contain these five paragraphs, and as I mentioned here, they are all mentioned at the level of introduction, but later I have developed them in an essay. Okay, yeah, I'm going to save this video. Hopefully nothing happens. Hello, we need techniques and strategies to interpret questions of the PhD entrance exam, and I'm waiting for you to pay me a visit. Yeah, I said I'm going to pay you a visit, but you know my life. I'm sorry. متحشمنيش قدام الناس عليه. Okay, so I'm going to give you a simple technique to write an introduction. This technique really helps me a lot. You see, always ask the question. هو على راه يسقسيني هذا السؤال؟ علاه راهم يسقسوني مثلا على ethicality في research؟ تلقى الإجابة باللي you need what you call reliable and honest and proved information. معناها هذه الكلمه قادر تبدا تجاوب بها الانتروداكشن تاعك. قول مثلا in the pursuit of reliable and honest and proved and scientifically proved data, ethicality is an important aspect. نروح مثلا للديداكتيك. ديداكتيك دائما عندها الحاجه المهمه في الديداكتيك is to ensure effective and efficient learning teaching process. نجم تقريبا تبدا باي باراجراف كما قلت. نجم for example اذا كان تسالني على assessment, I can say that for example in order to مثلا in the endeavor to achieve effectiveness and efficiency in the teaching learning process, assessment is a vital part. تنجم تقلبها من assessment is a vital part in achieving effectiveness and efficiency. So it's always that first sentence that is going to tell you why are you even asking the question. Usually the question here usually is related to the scope of the field itself. This is why جماعة اللي نقريهم اللي كانوا معايا في الجروب دائما نقول لهم حوس على scope of the field that you are doing. مثلا إلا راك تقرا في الميثودولوجي, what is the scope of that methodology? What is the scope of research methodology? تقريبا it's the definition. They always will start with the definition, but of course in an implicit way. Okay, overt and covert participant, your observation, yeah, indeed, being anonymous is the best. Yeah, is anonymous is the best, but there is a problem in ethicality here. Always, you have to remember that indeed, yeah, maybe it is the best way to collect data, but from an ethical standing point is not. And always remember this, and I want you really to remember that if you have looked at my lecture I just shared today, that the process in research methodology is more important than the result. Always remember this. If we care about the result, yes, indeed, we would steal the data. We would like anonymously sit way in the back and take photos or even record video. But this is against research methodology. If someone is going to do this, a lot is going to happen. So always remember, process is more important than the result. And this is something that I have also provided definition of Kumar 2011. He spoke about this, that there is no failure in research since the process is good. And you can use this in order to approach the topic you have just mentioned now. Okay, let me see, Mr. Tahir Rashidi. I'm narrowing my revision to only the things that should be started during the essay. Also thinking outside the box is the key success. Okay, the essays. Well, I was just having conversation with one of my followers, and she asked me a question, and I was astonished. Maybe now she's hearing me, and she will be mad. She was really limited, as if she's answering an exam question, a regular exam question. And this should not be the case with a PhD. Once you are in a PhD now, you should answer as if you are a doctor, and this is so important. And this is why you should, when you write something that really is going to stand among the others. So keep that in mind. Okay, Miss Shifa, if we develop each formulating hypothesis, etc., each body paragraph, they seem to be easily explained in two or three. No, 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 no. Look, the capacity of someone to explain something can be in one sentence, can be two sentences, can be three sentences, but it can be more. I can, for example, you give me an idea. I can, for example, let's say I'm going to talk about the idea of ethicality in formulating a research problem. I'm going to start that the idea of formulating a research problem has also to adhere to ethical consideration. In this regard, a researcher has to make sure, one, that the problem that he or she is investigating is going to help the local community first, rather than harming or doing harm. This is first. ومن بعد هنا انت تحسي باللي كملت منها هنا يجوا examples هي دائما تفكر باللي examples are going to provide that rich content when it comes to development. So for example, if a researcher decided to investigate a problem that would have, so you kind of find a good way to explain. Always remember, examples are going really to expand your essay, and also examples really going to make it's going to make the reader feel that yeah, you know what you're talking about. But be careful. كان مرات واحد الجماعة يدوخوني، يعني عملت لك الكلمة منها صح، عملت لك الكونسيبت منها، بصح المثال اللي بده لك في القطب الشمالي. So if you do this, you're doomed. So be careful when it comes to examples. Okay, Miss Rush, sir, what do you recommend for general culture model? That's a problem. For general culture, for those who haven't started yet haven't started revising, my piece of advice is talk about culture in relation to teaching. So, what is culture? Of course, how culture is important in language teaching. Can the teaching of culture enhance the teaching learning process? What are the approaches that can be used in teaching culture? You can stumble on the debate of whether should we incorporate the culture of the target language or we should include the our native culture. You can talk about this. So I say you a long essay, I think it's going to do you enough. Introduction, smart. What do you mean smart? I didn't understand. Okay, we have hello, sir. Can you tell us about the relationship between applied linguistic and didactic and the role of the applied linguistic in language teaching? No, of course. Everything that we do in language teaching or in didactic comes from applied linguistics and comes also from linguistics. I'm going to explain this in a simple way. See, linguistics is a scientific study of scientific study of language. So, if we want to know about language, we are going to go to linguistics. It's going to tell us what is language. صح. Language واحد الوقت كانت structure. كانت يقول لك it is writing يتمنى. كانت just a structure, just structure اللي هي phonetic, phonology, syntax, morphology, pragmatic, semantics. هذه the structural linguistics. تحفظها. هذه كانوا هادو كانت عندنا simply grammar translation method. We should teach the structure of the language and etc. Some that كي جونا applied linguistics. The applied linguistics, the language is more than that. What is it then? نجيبه from different fields اللي هما واش؟ جبنا من psychology. We understand psychology. We are going to understand how language functions or how the brain processes language. Okay. Then neurolinguistics from neurology. Then, okay, language has interaction with society. رحنا هنا sociolinguistics, جاتنا sociology. قال لا عندنا culture داخله في language. That's anthropology. جيبها تاني معلم. All these have shaped the way we understand language. So now we understand that language is not only just theories about the structure, but no, there are affective factors. That's psycholinguistics. We know that there are sociolinguistic factors. That goes to sociolinguistics. And we understand that it's more. Like, for example, we know that we need communication. Now we need culture. And now, if you're not going to revise what's called the 21st century linguist skills, trust me, you're not doing anything. Now it's more than that. It's critical thinking, it's problem solving, and it's more. And I want you to remember this. It's not only to learn the language, it's in order to use all this knowledge and incorporate it and to use it to really solve problems that are at a global scale. And this is the difference between what we used to study. Today, I was asked the question, for example, one of the questions you have seen last year is that, for example, formal educations gets your job, and the other one makes a fortune. هذا السؤال تقريبا نفسه كان العام اللي فات سقساه. وش سقساه؟ قال لك مثلا سقساه I think this is how do you see, or something like this, that 21st century skills constitute a challenge to the formal or to the previous theories of language. It's kind of the same thing, so it's important now to be new. صح. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. See, صح. Hello, sir. Okay, sir, what do you recommend? Okay, we talked about this. My question, do I have to mention the element that will develop later on the body is my introduction. شوف نعطيكم واحد القصة صغيرة. كانت تقارني واحد الأستاذة راه لها دركا مازال ما شاء الله. She's a young teacher. She is the reason why I'm thinking like the way I'm thinking, I'm talking the way I'm talking. تحية لها. قالت لي بهذه الكلمة، قالت لي شوف، قالت لي هشام كان ما نلقاش الإجابة كل في الانترودكشن ومن بعد تديفلوبيها من بعد كعكه. مازال راني متفكرها. And I still, up to now, when I want to write an introduction, I try to mention all the elements that I'm going to develop. Then I develop. That's why I call development. Sometimes مرات معليش, you kind of put it like, for example, there are so many criteria, there are so many criteria. تقول لي هذه مش مقبولة. يعني ماذا بك تقول مثلا there are so many characteristics. أقول هم لي واحدة زوج ثلاثة. معليش يا سيدي ربعة ما تقولهاش ومن بعد ديفلوب قال furthermore there is the inclusion of. معليش انا بصح تقولها ملي ما تخلينيش انا تقول لي there are so many characteristics like so many people do when they send me introduction. The introduction is vague ما فيها والو. The teacher assumes so many rules. This is in reaction to many changes. يو قول لنا حاجة. Many changes ما قلتش. Rules ما قلتش. So what's happening? Okay. اوكي hello sir اوكي صح هذا هضرنا عليه. صح قلنا applied linguistic. This is applied linguistic and language teaching. As I said, we take everything from applied linguistics. The source of the second language theories يجونا من applied linguistics. So applied linguistics is so important. انا اعطيكم حاجه في السؤال هذا اللي مثلا سقساوني عليه مثلا على formal education gets your job. درك حنا نعرفوا بلي ديداكتيك تيتشينغ اند ليرنينغ هذا حدها. بصح كي تدخل في الابلايد لينغويستيك تخرجنا من هذه الدائره الضيقه. تروح لنا المواضيع مثلا فور اكزامبل ذا سوسايتي وات هابن. هذه مادام دخلت فيها كلمه جوب. So we are talking about language related problems. So هنا رحنا للديداكتيك الابلايد خاطر ديداكتيك تقريبا it's something that is strict just between the teacher and the learner and the mostly formal education, just strictly formal education. صح. Sometimes they ask about details of details. Uh, details of details. راك ماشي تفوتش PhD نكتبوش على مولانا. If you can write 2, 3, 4 pages, that would be better, unless you are explicitly instructed not to write too much. But if you write a lot, that would be better. That really would be better, I tell you. Okay. Being anonymous is against code of conduct and ethics. Yeah, always remember that. Okay, please save this. I will save it. Inshallah, Rabbi. If nothing is going to happen, I will save it. Hello, I am in dire need to know how to develop argumentative essay. تبع معي Miss L. Rival. Argumentative essay for introduction, you have to introduce the parties in the debate. مثلا, if I'm going to talk about, let's say, the debates concerning the form and function. This is one of the oldest debates. Should we focus on form or should we focus on function? Well, the debate here is simple because you are going to say the both that focusing we should focus on both and neglecting any one of them we are going to have let's say deficiencies when it's come in teaching and the teaching and learning process. So here you are going to take both. Sometimes maybe I don't have a topic right now in mind that's maybe you are let's say for example the inclusion of the target language culture. There is a very heated debate when it comes to should we teach the target culture, language culture or not. Here you can take it as a debate. You provide the positive and the negative of each side of the argument. And at the end, myself, I do it always. I say, we balance. I always escape, given my opinion. I said, a balanced, a balanced way of including both should be considered by teacher. In this way, I save myself. Of course, you have to be smart in that exam. Good evening. Hi, Ms. Jamal Nasser. Any advice concerning the length of the essay as a whole and the length of the paragraphs? I was just saying, if you are not explicitly instructed to write, let's say, for example, 300 words, the longer the better. شوف صار لها انت مثلا من بعيد كي واحد تشوفه لابس مليح تدي عليه نظره زينه. درك انت مثلا ورقتك تكون شويه هكا عامره الله يبارك يرفدها واحد هكا تحس باللي لاباس يعني راح السيد راح يعني مشاو. So the teacher is going to be curious. Oh, what did he or she write? بصح كي تجيب الورقة باقية that time they will look at your style. If your style is good, صح. If you're not, that's a problematic. And always try to impress and don't over impress because over impressing sometimes كاين واحد الجماعة يبعثوا لي مرات introduction فيهم واحد الكلمات يا ولا غير يبعثها لي نروح نحل في الديكسيونير نشوف كيش ما نقرا وين جاو هذه الكلمات صعاب. This is over impressing, and trust me, sometimes it backfires. So be careful. Miss Bunab. So, when talking about ethics and racial ethical consideration, what are the major points? I was just telling them, I'm going to repeat them. كاين جماعة قلنا يطلعوا عليها just from the idea of plagiarism. He said, no. Take the whole process of research methodology ارفدهم كل and all they are subject to ethicality. من الأولى, a problem that should be ethical. Research question also should not harm the community and should not be provocative. Number 3, the way you are going to collect data should all adhere to ethical consideration. Number 4, the way you are going to analyze data should be honest, should not lie about the data. And number 5, if you are going to write the report, of course, you are going to write it in an honest way. You're going to credit everyone. You avoid plagiarism. You do this, you make everyone happy. You may get a very good mark and you may win. Okay. What are we expected to tackle in language and culture? That's the question. شوف نفهم أنا حاجة. This exam, no one knows the answer, the question, and no one. It's so transparent. ما كاش اللي يقول لك لا في ما فيها والو. Because the questions are designed on that day, and before, let's say, hours, maybe minutes before. And they design 3 questions. And teachers, they are so creative sometimes in making questions because the aim is what? The aim usually sometimes they want to give you a question not to make it easy for you. No, they want it so difficult for you. That's those who have memorized things, they're not going to answer. Those who have memorized concept, they will find problems. Only those who have like critical mind and they can develop an essay, usually they can answer. And we never know. Just three questions. But most what I can say now, جماعة أنا ما قريتش cultural. I didn't specify culture. قريت موديل ولا زوج في الماستر. But what I can know, but trying to tackle to try to tackle the idea of language and culture from the perspective of language teaching. How can culture help with language teaching, the approaches, etc. Language culture يدخل برك الديبيت هذاك تاع whether should we include culture عندنا احنا ممكن. Oh, microlinguistics. Oh dear. Mr. Tah. Oh dear. هنا ضربني في القلب. So one of the things that I found really, really difficult. I'm trying to pass ماذا بيا ما نغلطش في life, but what I can say, it's a disaster. Microlinguistics, so many details to the point that I don't like. أنا وش قريت كاع في linguistics قرينا حوايج the simple things, like for example, what is it? The relationship between the language and the people, sociolinguistics, the other branches, so it was general, why it's scientific, how it can be scientific, historical linguistics. But what I know, microlinguistic is just a narrow scope of it. When you widen the scope, you are talking about the macro. I can tell you concerning this, if it's sociolinguistic, but linguistic, I pass. My connection is 2 weeks, so sorry. How can I revise literature? Mr. Phonics, Miss Phonics. One of the problems that I really wish I can be qualified to talk about literature, but sadly I am really not. Very sorry. Can we state our opinion, personal pronouns? No, no. I would avoid any pronoun. ما تقولي لا وي، ما تقولي لا they، ما تقولي لا I، no. If you are going to say قال مثلا in this regard arguments present different directions معليش مش mine no انا خاطيني بس كان ديجا خاطيني هذا مو مش تبعي so I have read them. I have found, like for example, some directions in the literature, so they are not yours, so don't use I. حتى كي تجيك ديك الurge that you want to use I, don't use it because شكون انت؟ even تكتب لا انا نمشي مع هذا الابروach. No, I don't. You can use, for example, قال this approach is suitable, for example, قال this approach is suitable for, let's say, for example, multi-level, for example, classroom, or for example, heterogeneous classroom. Maybe you could use it like this. So try to avoid them. It's disasters. Is it a matter of define, explain, and exemplify, then move to counter arguments if possible? Look, when it comes to the argument and the counter argument, you always start with an argument, and even if you think that there is no counter argument, try to find one. For example, we always say communicative approaches are good. You can talk about them. Then, of course, you talk about them, the characteristic, the advantages. But there are still some disadvantages that people sometimes neglect. For example, they have a weight on the job, the task of the learners. So learners need to be autonomous. Learners need to do heavy lifting when it comes to this. Teachers have to be qualified. So this is also kind of a counter argument to it. So I would say always, if you can find another counter argument, include it. Okay. If the question of the content mentioned learner-centered in the learning process, and how can we build an essay? Simple. Everything now we do is learner-centered. تفكروا هذه الكلمة. In the past, with traditional approaches, there was this belief that more teaching results in more learning. Then we found that no, more teaching, more talking from the side of the teacher doesn't mean really that the learner is really learning anything. So we focus on the learner itself. That's a learner-centered. بصح هذه كلمة learner-centered is just an umbrella term. This is how we use it. It's just an umbrella term for so many concepts. For example, if we talk about affective factors like anxiety, etc., this is part of why we focus on learners. If we talk about, for example, learner autonomy, that learners should do, study themselves. Self-education, تاني تدخل هنايا هادو كاع داخله in the learner-centered approach. Oh, by the way, lead it as learner-centered. راح يحتاجها everyone، حتى الجماعه اللي راح يحكوا في الاي اس بي. You're going to talk about ESP. تفكر دوك باش نحكي شويه عليها. ESP learner centered is part because المهم اللي راح تقول فيها that the lesson objective is based on learners needs. This is taking you to ESP, and at the same time it's taking us even to EGP, because now even حتى نهضروا على EGP we try to know what are the needs of the learners. Okay, shall we ask questions in the introduction? Hmm. شوف إلا راك راح دير كويشن تاع مثلا what are the characteristics of the لا اختك هذه اركايك قديمه فتناها. مثلا قال مثلا حاول تمثل الكويشن in the indirect way. معليش مثلا قال مثلا قال the teacher um, has to be characterized with certain features. Yeah, no, no, the questions. But if you are going to ask questions, try me. بكري كنت نقول maybe, now I say no. اعطيني اجابه، قولهم لي في الانترودكشن، جاوبني like truly give me an answer. باش نمثل لكم واحد الكلمه. الانترودكشن كي تكون فيها الاجابه وكلش واضح وبيان، تقريبا النقطه نتاعك راه صغيره، راه تريقلت. سما اللي حوس يقرا الديفلوبمنت راه باغي just going to find what's the explanation of what you give. And this is my way. And by the way, شوف writing style سموها style، معناها there is a degree of subjectivity. ممكن the way I'm thinking it's not maybe the way someone else doing it, but my belief it's the safest way. Still, if I'm going to show you something, what I hope you do, you try to perfect it, you perfect it. But still, of course, you take my word and you try to perfect everything. How to better analyze the given quote or PhD question. How you analyze تبع معايا every word. حتى التنس تاع الفيرب المستعمل فيه مشكل. واحد من الأسئلة القدام اللي دائما نبغي نحكي عليه مثلا قال لك مثلا there has been a shift in the role of teachers from a controller منه. كي تلاحظ الكيستيون وش فيه؟ there is a shift سهلة باين. عندك traditional approaches، عندك modern approaches. The difference here of course is going to have ramification or repercussions on the role of the teacher from a controller to a facilitator. تجيك ديك has been changed معناها present perfect continuous، معناها مازال ما كملش، مازال change كاين. كيفاش مازال رانا عاجبينا القدام ولا تشينج. واحده من السنتن باراجراف اللي راح نديرها قال this change is still not complete or is met by resistance. You know that some teachers they still like to use the traditional approaches. It's not like because they love them, because maybe the environment, the classroom context is not suitable for modern approaches. انا دي شحال مره نقول لك انت تجي تقري communication وتروح تمشي، وعلى بالكم باللي communication is going also is one vital part in communicative approaches is the role of the learner. If my learners are not cooperative, they are not autonomous because they are dependent on me, completely dependent on me. How can I be just a facilitator? I'm not going to be a facilitator. I'm going to be a controller in the class. So this is something, these kind of arguments you should advance in your research. And by doing this, trust me, it shows that you really know what you're talking about. Okay. Are we supposed to mention applied linguistics in an essay about ESP? هي شوف انا جماعه تاع الاي اس بي، هي اي اس بي في روحها راهي جايه من دايداكتكس وجايه من ابلاي، مش حاجه جديده في روحها. اي اس بي حاجه اللي فيها شوي جاده، اللي هي needs analysis, and everything that you are going to do is focused on what learners need or what they think they need in the future. So but still there is the teaching learning process. كيف هاكي ديداكت. عندك شوف، عندك كيريكولم، هما ما عندهمش برك ممكن الكيريكولم، عندك السيلابس كان في content selection، في the objectives، في مثلا في resources كيف. ومن بعد the role of the teacher, there is a role of the teacher, there is a role of the learners, and there is great emphasis on the idea of assessment, because the assessment is not simply you are going to assess the teaching learning process, Yeah, you are doing the same, but you do have an objective because you know what they need in the, so you are going to put the assessment and what they need. And if everything is okay, your course has succeeded. If not, it's a failure. Okay, Miss Biba, been a long time. How are you? Which is better to use active or passive styles when writing essays? شوف إذا تبعنا دوك الجماعة نتاع الرايتنج جوروز يقول لك باسيف يا ودي خدمي بالباسيف خدمي بالاكتيف as long as there is logic in your sentences and you feel that there is kind of smooth transition from one sentence to another, from one idea to another, there is no problem. حتى تكون your language is so simple, but the idea is that one of the thing my teachers used to tell me that your style is so simple. عرفنا ما عرفنا تعيبة ما عرفناها المهم it's so simple but still the idea is there and it helped me and I still up to now I feel my style is so simple. I'm trying to make it complex. So no, it's don't worry that. How many papers do we need to write an essay? إذا ما قالولكش, if you can write 10, write 10, as long as you don't commit spelling mistakes and problems. Because if you write 10 pages and your paper is like this, كيرفدوها تحسوها شوية خشينة شوية. So they are going to be curious, hey, what is in here? And when they read it, and we want to stand, this is something where everyone wants to do. Okay, what are the characteristics of a good conclusion? Good conclusion simply is going to be summary. A summary. ما كانش حاجة في conclusion except a summary. إذا أنا مثلا عندي 5 arguments ولا 5 elements, I'm going to summarize them. 5 elements. هذا قال مثلا كما ضربنا الاكزامبل قبيله تاع ethicality, قال مثلا at the end there is no question that ethicality is important, as important as we have seen. It has to be minded with the 5 men. هذا repetition. تقريبا summary. مرات كي يكون عندك arguments هنا be careful. مرات يسقسوك سؤال مثلا should we go with the form or the function. في الكونكلوجن جاوب على السؤال تاعك, but always run away from your personal. قال مثلا indeed there is still a heated debate. عاود ليه it's a heated debate and it should a teacher مش نتايا ما تقولش I, a teacher has to balance. وهرب قال this is going to be a good solution for you. Okay, sir, can you please give us an idea about the topic of English in primary school in Algeria in relation to applied linguistic and language policy and planning? Okay, هذه واحدة من الحوايج اللي كنت دائما نهضر عليها مع الجروب تاعي. شوف, إذا كان السؤال تاعي مثلا يحكي مثلا يحضروا مثلا و the difficulties concerning جماعة بارطاجوا شوية, راني نشوف بارطاج الناس the viewers, so share like. Uh, if you are going to ask about English, the implementation of English at primary school, this can be tackled from 3 points of view. You can tackle it first from the idea of sociolinguistics, because it's a sociolinguistic move. There is a language policy in this. So we talk about language policy. This is going to give you, like, for example, the implementation of a language, the acceptance, the codation, etc., the codification. هذه صح. And that كاين what they call the side of applied linguistic. Applied linguistic, it's broad. When, for example, that you are going to say that Algeria now needs English. And because we need English, we are going to implement it now, and this is going to solve problems in the future. And talk it from that side. Then you can take it from the idea of didactics directly. هنا you are going to be strictly talking about the role of the teacher. Maybe you are going حتى هنا تعود ترجع applied the characteristics of young learners. على بالكم باللي you have young learners. When it comes to young learners, we have differences. So it's not like you are teaching adults. So we have different. Of course, you are going to talk about the characteristics of these learners. Maybe you are going to talk about واحدة من الحوايج اللي دائما نخمم فيها, the qualification of teachers. Are teachers qualified to teach young learners? Maybe they said they had training. Is it enough or not? Maybe not. هنا تنجم تهضر على pre-service training, in-service training when it comes to teachers. So you can take it from 3 sides, as I said. Okay. English for beginners. Hi there. Hi everyone. I think the assessment is a very important subject we have to discuss. Well, assessment is so important. Assessment is important because if we talk about the effectiveness of a learning teaching process, we need to go to assessment. Now there are trends in assessment. For example, we are not we focus more on formative assessment. We talk about an ongoing assessment. Now there is also the talk about the data collection in assessment. So there are several trends, and the people who are going to sit for ESP, make sure you're really going to concentrate on the idea of assessment because it's vital part. Okay, do we need to revise courses from the specific university? شوف أنا هاد الكلمة أكيد نلقاها بون كنا متفاهمين كاع الكورسز تاع الجامعات كاع كيف كيف. وممكن الاختلاف وين كاين جماعة ممكن تدخل في الديتاي شوية، خاطر جماعة مثلا تاع لينغويستيكس لاحظت كاين جماعة تدخل لك في الديتاي، تدخل لك في الدوسيسيور شوية، ممكن جماعة تاع الليتيراتور تاني شوية يدوخوني باش كيدخلوا في سبيسيفيك جانرا اوف ريدينغ، هنا ممكن. بصح ديداكتيك كيف كيف كاع نقراوها كيف كيف. ابلايد اول ذا سيم. ابلايد شوية كاين مرات جماعة اللي تركز مثلا في ديسكورس اناليسيس، كاين جماعة اللي تركز مثلا maybe in bilingualism هنا ممكن maybe but at the end they're all the same courses. اوكي. شوف مس رينيرا، انا نقول لك حاجه write essays. وهذه الكلمه نقولها دركا write essays مش لهذا العام. العام جاي مش باغي نهبط المورال، بصح اللي حاب ينجح موش يبدا قال اليوم حاب تبدا اليوم، راك باد تخدم على اليوم وغدوه والعام الجاي if you have a goal in your mind. اما اذا راك حاب تنجح هذا العام وقال لي لا نجحت وما نزيدش، trust me, this is a very short-sighted dream. Look ahead. صح. I like to over impress but using scientific معليش over impress with nice words scientific وتعرف تهضر مليح، بس صح تخلطها لي بكلمات تاع ليتيراتور وتفهم لي you may provoke someone. You don't want to do that. Okay, Salam, can you tell us what should we focus on didactics? Okay, my friend, the cameraman has arrived. And applied, we should focus on didactics and applied linguistics mean highlighted lesson. شوف تقريبا في الفيديو نتاعي تقريبا didactic راني I have covered it، يعني تقريبا I have talked about all the elements. حد اسمح لي هنايا سأتفرج. We talked about all the elements اللي هما تقريبا teaching learning process، يعني تقريبا مثل الكريكولم، كاع الحوايج اللي في الكريكولم syllabus and all these aspects there. And then you move to استنى kick this person out. Then you move to teacher role, learner's role. You talk about maybe some element that are related to the teacher, like say teacher training وهاد الحوايج. تروح learners, you talk about learner autonomy. قاعدوا اللي داخل تروح assessment. You all talk about that. Applied linguistics شوية واسعة. تقريبا applied linguistics أنا في الجامعات اللي لاحظتهم يبازوا بزاف على second language first language and second language acquisition theories, but still they can talk about any subject. They can talk about discourse analysis. They can talk about yeah. Okay. Okay. أنا قلت لكم when you do live, my cameraman is disturbing me. So I said they can talk about several subjects. So okay, my cameraman wants to switch off the computer. Okay, sorry for this. So, okay, wait a minute. I kick this person. Take a break. I'm fighting with my cat. Okay. Okay. I'm fighting with my cat. عجبوش الحال. So I said it can really be kind of wide based what we call it to when it comes to applied linguistics. صح. زيدوا نشوفوا. Where am I? I think I lost it there where I was. Are there any common items, questions of didactics? Check my videos. I have really talked about this a lot. And most of them just the teaching and learning process. Okay, do we use questions in the introduction? No, don't use questions. انت خدمتك تجاوب على الاسئله ماشي تمد الاسئله، هذه دائما نقولها. انت راك حاب تسقسي. انتم راه كاين واحد الاعتقاد قديم باللي لا نقول بلا 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 ومن بعد عاد نبدا. لا لا، الانترودكشن فيها هي الاجابه، فيها هي الاجابه. انت لا تزيد تسقسيني، ياك انا راني مسقسيك. So put this in your mind. انت لمسان PhD question is going to be EIP, English for academic purposes. What is your outlook about what type of question? Trust me, it can be anything. بصح انا الحاجه اللي جماعه على الاس بي نقول لكم ديروها. جماعه على الاس بي انتم قراو ديداكتيك، وتقريبا راح تبدل غير شويه كلمات على الديداكتيك، راح تردهم، تزيدنا needs analysis and the focus on the target language and the language that's going to be used in occupation. خلاص هاك ولا كلش اي اس بي. غير كلمه، غير ديداكتيك، نفس حوايج اللي تقولهم في الديداكتيك تزيدهم غير needs analysis. Needs analysis, the for an assessment, when it comes to assessment you related to needs analysis راك تولينا. الفرق مثلا احنا في الاي جي بي كي نهضروا على assessment we don't talk about occupation. صح مش معنى تي اس بي talk about occupation معناه راح تلقى روحك تبدل شويه في طريقه الهضره نتاعك. You will find yourself really with the answer. Okay. صح. uh, it contains the answer. صح. Do we need to use questions in اني غير درك جاوبتها. انا بالنسبه لي good writing style ما لازمش تعاود تعطيني سؤال، انا سقسيتك جاوبني، واحسن introduction اللي فيها الاجابه كامله، يعني فيها thesis statement اللي فيها الاجابه. مش انا تزيد مازال تسقسيني باش مانيش عارف وقت راح تبدل، تسمى راح تبدلي introduction فوق الانترودكشن. هذه انا بزاف طلبه وراني قريب في الجامعه ومازال يديروها و I something that I don't recommend. اوكي نمشوا. What I have missed. Oh, you've missed a lot. The main idea of the body paragraph should be mentioned in the introduction thesis. Yep. أنا دائما نمشي كيف مثلا يجي يقول لك مثلا the role of the teacher has shift. أحضر لي مثلا قال yeah indeed مثلا the history منها has witnessed several changes. These changes has repercussions on the role of the teacher from a control to facilitator. معناها كلش في الانترودكشن. Then you develop later. What is the model of general culture? I don't really know if this is going. Uh, I don't know what is a general culture. Is it just teaching culture? So as far as I know, I think it's kind of teaching culture. Or, it's really I don't know. Uh, yeah, my cat. اليوم شوية رهابة. Okay, I'm not used to live at this time. What if the body is too long? 5 paragraphs. Are we supposed to mention them on the? Yeah, you should. I just gave the example. هما 5 elements they should be mentioned at the introduction. Imagine مثلا يقول لك مثلا the importance of needs analysis. مثلا importance of needs analysis. هذيك importance of needs analysis خصك تقولها من في introduction, then you develop it later. This is how I believe a good introduction should be. Okay. Do we need to write questions in the introduction? The same thing I said. Check the video again after. No. شوف ايماجيني دوك انت كون معايا، انا على بالي بلي هذا البراكتيس راكم ديروه وكنتوا ديروه. انت يسقسيك كاستيون تعاود تسقسي، انا واش نقول لك ماشي صرا عندي في الامتحان نسقسيه كاستيون يروح يكتب لي انتروداكشن فيها بلا 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 بلا، يعاود لي نفس السؤال تاع السؤال اللي طرحته انا، يدير له ريفورميلي. يرحم والديك انت هذيك الخمس ولا ست سطور اللي واش كتبت واش فيها من فايده؟ يقول لي لا انا حبيت ندير لك سسبانس فيلم هندي. نو I don't want that. حابك تدخل لي في الموضوع ديريكت. قول لي مثلا اوكي ها هما الكاركترستكس اللي هما واحد واثنين وثلاثه واربعه خمسه، ومن بعد نعرف بلي راك جاي ديفلوبي فيهم. This way I will be happy with you. Okay, how do you know if you shifted from writing from style to literal style? Uh, I don't know. I just find some words are weird words that I do know for sure they don't belong to the field, so I would know. So no, always stick to concepts, scientific concepts, and you will be safe. If you feel your language is شوية بدأت تتزوق بزاف, ask yourself, I'm doing the right thing or not. وكاين حاجة نوصل لها, avoid compound sentences. Because most the nightmare I see just come from compound sentences. الناس غير تخلطها if ما يعرفش يخدم بها, ما يعرفش يخدم بالconditions type 1 type 2. Sometimes nightmare happens with that, so be careful when it comes to your language. Mr. It's interdisciplinary. What do you mean here? Okay, what's your expectation about what? I don't have an expectation, no. I can't say I have an expectation. I always say stay with the trends. Try to prepare something that is trendy. عندنا مثلا blended learning نخدموا به دركا في الجامعة. عندنا عندنا the same عندنا what called the implementation of English primary school. So stay with the trends. I do believe that a PhD exam is going to ask you about something trendy. So keep that in mind. Okay. Well-written academic and specific purposes. Well, it's written academic. Okay. Okay, mainly when it comes to attention. Yeah, my cat today wants all the attention. Okay. What's expectation? I said, what about literature? Nah, I can't. Literature, هذاك يسقسوني واحد على literature, I find myself really unable to talk about it. Okay, didactics, example, ESP, just add some detail, that's it. Guess, just an example. This is what I do believe that there is no big difference between needs analysis, between ESP and the teaching of English. At the end is all teaching, at the end is courses. صح عندنا في الاي جي بي مثلا course maybe curriculum is we are compelled to follow a curriculum that is designed, pre-designed. ESP practitioners هنا كان difference. They design their own courses. تلاحظ معي it's the same thing. Just the practice the practice is different. The ESP, they design their own courses. No, courses they are given to us. EGP, we don't know why they need English. Maybe they don't need it at all. When it comes to ESP, they should know what they need English for. So, راك تشوف بلي small differences. انا بالنسبه لي انسان ذكي شويه يحفظ بعض الكلام يعني كونسبت ماشي كلام كونسبت وهذوك الكونسبت يعرف يوظفهم في الاساي تاعو معناه قادر يروح يفوت ديداكتيك شويه كلمات برك يولي لايك نيس ان اي اس بي اكسبرت جماعه اي اس بي اللي كيكرهوني اليوم ما معنى مشروع طالب باحث مشروع طالب باحث I think it's kind of a project research project بس هو نورمالمون كان واحد الوقت كانوا مقترحين like you give a research proposal so we kind of give a project جات مرة في سؤال مثلا you design a research proposal so be careful of that curriculum versus syllabus also in yet وعدهم yeah we have the idea of curriculum syllabus is always there. Do we need to use quotes in introduction? Avoid them unless very short quotes and up I mean direct to the subject. كان مرات واحد الجماعة جماعة عندي في الجامعة يعني صراحة يدوخوني يجيب لك كوت خاطئ كاع ما كوت كاع جايبه على ما على باليش مسكوشه ولا ماكله كاع ودخلها لك في لونجلي تما وفرحان لايك راسك يحبس. So be careful when you use quotes. Always try to avoid it. If you have like something so good up, you can use a quote. And it should be from a famous person by the way. ما تجيبليش كوت انا قالها واحد في واحد البلاصه مجهوله. No, don't do that. Do we need to use quotes? Okay. Tlemcen, the model in academic specific purposes, it's the same. There are small differences. I'm not really qualified in ESP, but there are small differences. You just need to know the definitions of concepts, and that's all. You will be safe. If one had given an example of how theories of sociolinguistics had applied linguists to solve help applied linguists to solve language-related problem, what would it be? Wait a minute. Theories of sociolinguistics helped linguists applied linguists. I will give you a simple thing. We know that you can acquire language, you can have language, you can master the language, but the moment you take your knowledge to another society to use the language, you will find problem. Either, for example, some sentences that you are going to use are not going to be used in that society. For example, you know English, but the moment you travel to an English speaking country, you feel that you don't know English at all. So you need to have knowledge about the social aspect of the language. Hence comes society. And of course, sociolinguistics also is going to take you some of the concepts, like, for example, multilingualism, bilingualism, which is going to talk about diaglossia, هادو كاع راح ينفعوك in applied linguistics, and they are going to help us also in didactics because we need to be aware of these concepts. Okay. When you have really simple style and use only the keywords, and does this would encourage a bad mark? I was just telling you, I do believe that many teachers told me that I have a very simple style. At least I used to have a very, maybe, I'm not sure. Having a simple style, yet very, let's say, concrete sentences, the meaning is there, coherence, cohesion. I don't think that you may be faced with bad mark. بصح كاين حاجة باش نكونوا متفاهمين. This is a competition. It's a fierce competition. تدخلوا 600 حابين يربحوا 4. معنى everything counts. اللي يعرف يكتب وعنده المعلومات وعنده ستايل وعنده كلش وعنده الهاند رايتنج ودعوة الخير is going to win. اما اللي عنده الكونتنت بس ما عندوش ستايل. So we need everything and we need luck. انا دعوة الخير تجي. Okay. If I were accepted, do I have to write articles in my first year of training? Shall I Arabi? Is it difficult to publish them? Want to know about this process. شوف, if you win, inshallah, no, first year we are not going to write anything. Mostly are going to study, maybe you are going to thinking about your work. Is it difficult? هي شوف صراحة تربح the worst years of your life. يكذب عليك اللي يقول لك الدكتوراه سهلة. ما كانش يقول هذا. بصح it's the best thing. It's it's a really difficult endeavor, but the moment you are going, you because if you win, you will be a doctor. وقت وتعب, but you will be a doctor. And you will be proud of yourself. ما تسمعوش العباد لا ما عندهاش قيمة ما كاش خدمة. Don't listen to anyone. كل سمعنا أنا في وقتي وسمعت هذا الهضرة. No, work hard so you will be the best. وخلي كلش على ربي وخلص. Okay, would you please explain how to write a debate essay? هي الديبيت essay دائما هيكون فيها عندك argument و counter argument يكونوا واضحين على العموم, يعني باينين. كاين الارجيومنت وكاين الكاونتر argument. هنا على العموم راح تحاول تستعمل واحد الكلمات, مثلا that there is a debate, there are opposing parties when it comes to these the ideas. مثلا قال مثلا قادر مثلا قال despite مثلا the agreement on, واحد الكلمات دائما نستعملهم. قال despite the agreement on the idea of achieving effective منها, however the way in doing this has changed significantly. يعني كاين واحد الكلمات تستعملهم وحوس عليهم منظر كي you will find them and you develop good essay about them. كي تقول introduction خلاص غير introduction هذاك وين debate. من بعد في development no, you are going to develop one paragraph for one side, the other paragraph to the other side, ومشات كيما. ودائما دير هذاك linkage هذاك. قال ما تحكي مثلا one argument هنا قال opposed second opposed contrary to the first to the, what has been said. up عاد تدخل من you use these words, you be clever in your writing style. عندنا, is it okay to mention grammar translation method if you are asked what to do teachers use in teaching primary? شوف, هي نهضروا في الصراحة. دائما كاين واحد النقطة يقول لك يقول grammar translation method is a failure. لا, it's not a failure. Grammar translation failed in yielding students or learners who can communicate effectively, but it has yielded and it did succeed in making students so accurate when it comes to writing style. No one denies this. So maybe you can use this point. بصح دائما use with balance. مثلا هنايا مثلا حاب نهضر مرات بكله نقول مثلا teachers has used the grammar translation method in order to teach writing styles effectively. لا, قال مثلا قال the teacher has to revert to archaic techniques from traditional methods in order to achieve more effectiveness in writing style. شوف يعني نفس الكلام بس احنا نيفيتي شويه الهضره because you have to be so smart in your talk. So تخيل روحك كنت تمشي في ارض فيها ماينز, ماكش باغي تعفس وانت تضربك بيك حاجه. لا, بالعقل. So you are going not to provoke anyone. This is the way I do it when I write for an exam. Is it better to write quotes literature? No, I don't know. I haven't studied literature, and I really don't know. Nah, I didn't even study. I studied, but I was never fond of it. Would you give us features of good academic writing essay? بالنسبة لي أنا, take it from me. A good writing essay you have to find a very good introductory sentence that tackles the scope of the research. This is one. It has to the introduction has you have to find the answer at the level of introduction. The development should develop all the elements which are in the introduction, and the conclusion should comprise a summary or the different opinions if concerning a debate. بالنسبة لي this خاصة تكون accurate, language is good, يكونوا كاين شوية citations, if you have quotation it will be better, so it should be perfect. This is a competition, and the fierce competition, you need to do your best. Okay. Hello, sir. Would you please give us best way to revise in order to gain time and not to get lost? Uh, روح درك شوف روح للباج تاعي مس جامنا go to my page تلقى واحد البوست فيه all the questions, at least the one I collected, or you can go and find all the questions you can find and answer them in essays. مثل قلت ليل نهار, write essays. Then in the process of writing them, you are going to find that you have memorized them. This is the best way you can do. The question that always comes to my mind, is it necessary to have exact answer for the PhD answer, or is it okay to have an idea about but you explain it in a different way? مانيش فاهم بصح انا نعطيك اللي على حسب ما فهمت. You should have the exact answer. كان نجي نسقسيك درك انا مثلا نقول لك مثلا what are the challenges in implementing English at primary schools. خاصك تعرفي تفكري كلمة okay, there are challenges from pedagogical point of view, there are challenges. From a sociolinguistic point of view, there are challenges. These two. Or from a political point of view, there are challenges. Sociolinguistic challenges. From pedagogical challenges, maybe you talk about وتزيد تحدد لي في الانترودكشن على وش باغي تحكي لي. قال I want to talk about teachers training, learners differences, learners characteristics. وحبست هنا. لا حاب نهضر لك على social problems that's going to affect مثلا the implementation maybe. Although we don't have any problems, English is welcomed by society. انا دائما نقول على اجابتكم في الانترودكشن مش كان لازم نحس I know what you are writing. This is what I want. Still waiting for your answer. Can you repeat the question because I really get lost? Man, I need to go back and revise. Inshallah. Hello, what are the expectation and research methodology? It can be anything. العام اللي فات سقساو بزاف على plagiarism. انا بالنسبه لي كاع كيف ما كانش differences in research methodology. الموضوعات كاع كيف. So just revise it, all of it. دكتور between us, بيناتنا ومعانا 200 فيور ولا واش. PhD do they verify quotes because I can make up make up. شوف انا قريت في الجامعه وما نقولكش ما كانش جماعه اللي ميك اب واحد الكوتس الله. يا وشوف الكوت هذيك تفوح عليك قبل لا تقراها وتشوف لا تفوح it tweaks that it is fake. We can now, trust me, we can now. So don't try this because you will be doomed forever. Yeah, even sarcasm, it happens, trust me. Do we need to quote some researchers in an essay, or is it necessary do we need to write? شوف هي دايما الكوت. By the way, كي نقولوا الكوت, you're only going to quote what called like the fathers of that field. دوك مثلا تجي تهز ورقة على applied linguistics تلقى بزاف authors بصح كان تكتبهم ما تعرفوش. That's why you need just the fathers. دوك انا كي دير لي مثلا دير لي ويليام لابوف نفرح. I know. دير لي مثلا جاي كوك لا نعرف بلي is related to applied linguistics. ما تجيبليش انا اسم انا جامي شفناه. Be careful, don't do this. I'm thinking of doing the same thing. Please tell us if we are asked to develop an essay about the implementation. Tell us if we are asked to develop an implementation of English or primary school. As I just told you now, I mean, you can tackle it from a pedagogical point of view, or at a pedagogical point of view, you can specify. Are you going to talk about just teachers? Are you going to talk about learners? Are you talk about the benefit and benefit راح يدوك to sociolinguistics and it's going to language planning that benefits. Maybe they take you to applied linguistics خاطر داخله فيها تاني applied linguistics and what's the benefits of using English now, primary school. Manna, so you need to revise this. You said this is rhetorical and high-level language. I like it. Mm. Is linguistic is the scientific study of language, the correct of the exact definition of linguistic? Okay, is language the scientific study? And now I want you to go to my lecture and check that section where I talk about science and pseudoscience, positivism, post-positivism. Because here you will find the answer of why linguistics is science or not. Once you understand the difference between positivism and post-positivism, you understand why linguistics is scientific or why not, because it's still some considered as pseudoscience. But still, this is where you are going to look. If the topic is a debate, can the thesis statement as below? There is a notorious debate. Yes, there is a heated debate. Notorious actually. There is a heated debate. كلمة نعطيك شوية بسيطة. There is an ongoing debate. Oh, هني راسي. شوية notorious تحسها كخامجة. I don't know what. Hi, doctor. Do we mean by general culture is issues in culture we deal with? Maybe. All these are there. That's why I told you the idea of culture is a bit vague and open to a lot of interpretation. نروحوا. I see a lot of comments and I have already got tired. Hi, buddy. As a PhD student, I strongly advise my dear brothers and sisters to avoid anxiety, of course. Thank you so much. Trust me, your side can be under control. Yeah, exactly. This is, I always say, thank you, Mr. Suleiman Taibi. Anxiety. If there is something that is really killing us, is anxiety. The moment you want to talk to use English, you feel anxious and you start losing all your words. Sometimes you lose all your dreams because of this anxiety you have, the fear of failure. يومي راح تفشل وبالك تفشل والعام جاي تفشل. But if you have a dream, you will keep it alive. حتى واحد ما مشى للدكتوراه لقاها سهلة. اللي ربح ديريكت عربي ما كاش يرقد الليل ونهار والماستر تاعو كان كاتل روحه. You need to invest on that. ما تقولش باللي لا قال هذه المره. كاين جماعه مثلا يبعثوا لي يقول لك الشيخ انا نبدا هذا العام ولا نبدا العام الجاي. ابدا هذا العام وخلي العام الجاي كما تربح. علاه تخلي خاطر لما بديتش درك حتى العام الجاي ما تبداش. No, I always say ماهيش حاجه صعيبه. وثاني كاينه حاجه، انت كي راك تخدم دروك على النيفو نتاعك على اللونغ تاعك، مش شرط غير في الدكتوراه. غدوه كان تروح تفوت كونكور ما على باليش، غدوه تبغي تخرج، غدوه تبغي تلقى النيفو نتاعك طلع صح. ماشي كي تكون مثلا راه النيفو نتاعك طايح. So no, work on your level in English. This is something I really advise. What are the characteristics of a good introduction? As I said, a good introduction should include the answer, a direct, clear answer at the level of this thesis statement. This is what I believe in. Okay. If we are asked about the decision of the ministry teaching, is it good to introduce an essay and talking about ELT in Algeria? نعاود مرة تانية. Decision of the ministry teaching. Yeah, you need not only to talk about ELT, talk about the importance of English in general. Yeah, ابدأها قاعد in general, the need to now teach English at a global scale. Then go to Algeria. Of course, if you go to Algeria, تقريبا معظم الاساي بتاعك is going to be about the struggle, not the benefits. احنا مازال ما لحقناش البنفيت. مازال رانا at the level of struggle with English, the implementation of English. Always remember this. Uh, Okay, much appreciation. Always welcome. Thank you. Formal education versus self-education. I always said it's gonna formal education is going to help you maybe to get a job, maybe to help yourself locally. But when it comes to self-education, this is something that's going to equip you for the future. Because now, for example, when it comes to education, education is going just to grant us just with basic skills, grant us basic skills, but these basic skills are not enough now, especially with globalization, where we need to work at a global scale. So no, that's a big difference. I appreciate, always welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, so I do see that comments now there are, I don't have enough more comments. So maybe it's time that I'm going to close this live. It has been very nice live. It is the first time I talk with myself on the screen and just reading questions. I hope that you have benefited from it. Please, this page still needs a lot of support, sharing with your friends. I really need your support more than what you're doing. And thank you really so much. I will inshallah keep this endeavor. Maybe I'm to do it next week. Then inshallah نحكوا فيها. We discuss this the same discussion we have now. So thank you so much. I think I this is enough. If you have questions, maybe in the future, inshallah, or next week, inshallah, we have another live and we talk about it. So everyone, been a nice talk, nice discussion. See you, inshallah, next week. Good night.